To the West Coast with the finals over. The NBA draft is next on the calendar, and one of the biggest stories is where Bronny James is going to land. Our experts have Bronny going in the second round, but if you ask Paul George, he thinks his ceiling is way higher than those projections and thinks his game can mirror that of a two-time NBA champion. Paul?
I think he can be elite at a lot of things. Like, I feel like he's like in that Derrick White, and it was interesting that that's his comparisons that he wants to be like or coming out look like. But I compare him to like the Jrue Holiday, the Derrick Whites, like guys that are glue guys that can go do everything on the floor and help you win. Like that's kind of how I see him.
High praise from a guy who knows a thing or two about playing elite defense. So, Big Perk, obviously you rep defensive players. Do you agree with what PG had to say about Bronny?
I agree to the point where he's going to be a glue guy and like a role player, but I don't agree with the comp. We got to realize Jrue Holiday is knocking at the door of the Hall of Fame, right? We're talking about arguably one of the greatest perimeter defenders this game has ever seen. And he's standing at about 6'4", 6'5", right? Jrue Holiday, when you stand next to him. When I think about Bronny, I said this. I believe Bronny's ceiling is going to be a Eric Bledsoe type ceiling. And that's pretty damn good. Like if he keeps working, it's going to hit his full potential, and especially in his prime, he could have an Eric Bledsoe ceiling. That's not going to happen this year. I don't believe it'll happen next year. But can he come in next year and play and come in off the bench and provide some quality minutes for a ball club? Absolutely. But the Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, we're talking about two of the best defenders, wing perimeter defenders in the game. And then Jrue Holiday, we're talking about a guy that's knocking at the door of the Hall of Fame.
Wendy?
Molly, everyone's talking in code here. Everyone's talking in code here a little bit about Bronny because when they bring these players up, what they're basically comparing him to is undersized players. Because the biggest thing that Bronny has to deal with is he measured in at 6'1". That's taller than me, but for an NBA player, it's just undersized. And so if you're undersized in the NBA, you have to do something, maybe even two things, but at least one thing at an elite level. And if you look at a guy like Derrick White, this is a guy who does multiple things at an elite level. He is an all-defensive player, and he's an excellent shooter. Bronny is not that type of shooter. Not now. He doesn't have to be now. And we talk about, I understand why Paul George brought up Jrue Holiday and Paul George grew up alongside Jrue Holiday. They're both from Southern California. Jrue Holiday went to USCLA. Bronny went to USC. He didn't have a dominant freshman season at UCLA before he came out. Jrue Holiday is a couple inches taller than Bronny. Bronny does have a good wingspan and a great vertical. He measured over 40 inches in his vertical. But I appreciate what Paul is saying. And again, Paul watched Jrue Holiday as an 18, 19-year-old up close. But let's stop comparing him to Hall of Famers, as Perk said. Let's stop comparing him to all defensive players at this point. Like he's a project. And what people are dancing around is that for a player at 6'1", you've got to do something really special. You're talking about guys who do things really special. Let's see if he can do it. But I'm not sure the comparisons are helpful at this point, to be honest.
So let me tell you something about NBA scouts. NBA scouts love to look at a guy and say, he reminds me of this guy. He reminds me of that guy. He can do this guy. He can be this guy in 2 or 3 years. Is he a Jrue Holiday right now? Hell no. Is he a Derrick White right now? Hell no. But you understand who his father is? His father is LeBron James. He's very calculated. If he said Jrue Holiday, if he said Derrick White, you don't think Bron got this man sitting down watching film of Jrue Holiday and Derrick White and saying, hey, if you want to make it in this league, this is the kind of player you got to be. This is the kind of impact you got to have. You got to be an X-Factor guy. You got to grow into that kind of role. So, yeah, I do think he can be a Jrue Holiday type guy or a Derrick White type guy. Will he achieve what they achieve? That's only yet to be seen. We got to give that time, just like we got to give Bronny time with everything else. But when we talk about what kind of player he needs to be, what kind of player he can be to make an NBA roster and to have an impact as soon as possible, I'm going to tell you what we said at the Miami Heat. If you can rebound and defend, we got a spot for you. So if he can rebound and figure out a way to defend and do different things like that, then he's going to have an opportunity to play for a roster. When you look at what Jrue Holiday did, he was either rebounding, defending, or he was knocking down big shots. He was not the focal point of that team. He has been the focal point before, but he is not the focal point of that team now. So I guarantee you, if Bronny said Jrue, if Bronny said Derrick White, he watching film of Jrue Holiday. He watching film of Derrick White. He's trying to implement the things that those guys do into his game so he can be that type of guy to help a team win. That's why he said that. He ain't just throw it in the air, because they don't throw nothing in the air when it come from over there. Everything they do is calculated.
I get that UD, but guess what? Coming out of high school, I wanted to be Shaq. I watched a lot of film of Shaq and Elijah One. Damn it, I wasn't nowhere close to it. And that's okay. At the end of the but hold on. Hear me out. But at the end of the day, here's where it comes down to. We're talking about the same thing that Wendy alluded to, and I alluded to. When you go and stand alongside Derrick White and Jrue Holiday, bro, they are 6'5", borderline 6'6". We're talking about Bronny being at 6'1". That's why I came in closer to an Eric Bledsoe comparison more so than a Jrue Holiday, because I believe that Bronny could be a combo guard offensively because his ability to be able to stretch the floor. He's a decent shooter, above average, in my opinion, three-point shooter right now. I believe that he's going to be a pretty damn good shooter in years to come in the NBA. On the other side of the ball, I think he's going to be a guy that needs to pick up 94 feet. I think he's going to be a guy that needs to fight to get over screens. Like, I'm just saying, when you talk about Jrue Holiday and you talk about Derrick White, starting off, these guys are 6'4", 6'5", maybe even 6'6" out the gate.
So what y'all wanted him to say? Somebody that don't play and somebody that don't help nobody win? What y'all want him to say?
Of
course he gonna pick somebody who he knows. He's gonna pick somebody who he knows can help a team win. He's gonna pick
so you're saying it was
situation.